So, I hope in the last class you got some idea about this so-called integrated photonics, specifically how the revival of integrated optics came out uh, eh, with the limitation of electronics industry, electrical bottleneck. We discussed something like that. Now, okay, theoretically, in principle, we learned that electronics and photonics can be co-integrated, and it is somewhat cost effective, and also not only cost effective, we get also a lot of advanced applications. That is, what are all those advanced applications we'll be just discussing today. So one thing is that initially, as we understood, that the silicon evolution of silicon photonics technology came out because of the electrical interconnect bottleneck, and industry was most of the industry products were coming out based on that. Basically, ultimately, people are trying to develop transceiver circuit so that a small form factor transceiver circuit can be useful for short haul communication, especially in the data centers where you need to communicate one rack to another rack. Maybe you need a few meters of fiber, maybe multimode fiber you can use also, so that high speed data can be communicated from rack to rack. And for that, the transceiver, high speed transceiver can be fabricated and standardized, and that is how the silicon photonics technology actually got success and commercially actually got some um, benefit. And then so market grown and technology established, then people started thinking how to uh, actually integrate electronics and photonics for communicating on chip, one particular electronics block to another particular electronics block. So far we have shown that there will be different type of VLSI chip will be there, and there will be interposer in the bottom, which actually just silicon photonics, which will be useful for just communicating one chip to another chip. That much we have discussed, board level things. But commercial success came for this transceiver. So communication, short haul communication from one rack to another rack. And here in this, actually in this work, it was published in Nature later in 2015. First time, it was demonstrated single chip microprocessor communicates directly with light. So on chip, you have processor is there, and process one processing unit to another processing unit. It was communicated through optical interconnects. This is the configuration. If you see the left hand side, this dashed box, inside this dashed box, what is there? You see, you have a RISC-V processor, memory controller, that is electronics, and then you have two blocks called transmitter and receiver. And if you see the transceiver, you can see that there are it's a representative, 4 lines are there. That means you can actually, all the data you are taking from memory, you can actually serialize, a parallel things you can create, parallel lines you can create. And then you can just use all this electronic data with some electronics amplifier you can do. And here you see a small ring is there. Okay, small ring. And then another thing beside that, if you see, there is one, this side, it is a symbol actually used for grating coupler. We'll just discuss that. This grating coupler role is that you can couple light from fiber to waveguide. So this is actually a waveguide, so-called bus waveguide. And near the bus waveguide, you have the ring. Okay, so this bus waveguide and ring combination together it is actually used for modulator purpose. Okay, so you have a laser source. That laser source is split it into two halves here. 50-50 power splitter is there. That is also a waveguide, and that you can couple into a single mode fiber coming here, and you can couple here, and that will go in this way. When it is coming out, it is entering and coming out. That time your electrical data, electronic data is encoded into optics. So instead of Mach-Zehnder modulator discussed in last class, here it is used ring modulator. So Mach-Zehnder modulator, you know, if you design properly, that can be useful for both as a phase shifter as well as phase modulator as well as intensity modulator. It depends on your driving configuration. But ring resonator here specifically it is used for intensity modulator. How it is there? For example, you have a ring, and whenever some laser, suppose this laser is emitting a certain wavelength and you are coupling here. Okay, if that wavelength is exactly resonant to this ring waveguide, then this laser will be coupled into the ring and the energy will be stored here into the ring. Okay, so in the output you will be seeing some minimum output. Maybe output is very low intensity, laser intensity output through the bus waveguide coming here, that will be very low. Okay, but when because of your electrical data, that may be digital data, 1010 data, on-off data coming, so that data actually it's coming out as a voltage, for example, and that voltage, if you can think about that, can be converted into a current source. And if it is a current source, then in this ring, if you create both sides some kind of diode, PIN diode, p-type doping, intrinsic region would be waveguide, that we have discussed in the previous slide. Now, for example, a few slides back we have discussed some modulator configuration, right? Something like this. So one part of the ring here, this type of cross section of the waveguide, it is shown here. So one part of the ring you can create like this type of, this is your waveguide and p-type doping, n-type doping. That type of thing, cross section if you create, then because of your this data, on-off data or 1010 digital data coming, depending on that, you can actually create in the phase shifter region of the ring. You can actually control the carrier. You can inject the carrier if you are giving a forward bias, and if you are giving some withdrawing your bias, then you can actually reduce the carrier. So depending on the carrier concentration in the ring, you can actually think of that refractive index also depends. Higher the carrier concentration in the waveguide, refractive index will be lower. And when you are withdrawing carrier, that time your refractive index will be higher. So that means depending on the driving current here, signal, you can control your carrier and you can eventually control your refractive index of the ring. So once you control the refractive index, then you can see that wavelength which was actually resonant earlier, because of the change in refractive index, because of the change in velocity of the guided mode here in the ring, that will go off resonant. That means that stored energy, that particular electromagnetic wave or light energy will not be stored, that will be directly thrown out of the ring and it will come to the bus waveguide directly. So that means depending on the carrier concentration control, you can actually modulate your light output on off. So all the digital data, depending on one, you can get higher light output and 0 lower light output. So that is how transmitter, you can have some kind of design transmitter which can be integrated. That means you put electronics and this transmitter was integrated together. Okay, and another part is that suppose your incoming data, modulated data coming here, and you have a photo detector. This photo detector, what it will do, it will convert your data into optical data into electrical data. You can just get back here. And here it is shown only one ring as a representative, but in the actual figure they have used 4 different rings. Okay, 4 different rings. That means you can actually serialize your all the data and 4 different ring can be used as a 4 different modulator and 4 different transmitter, and then you can use your multiplexer, and then you can increase the data transmission. So all this receiver, transmitter side you have 4 ring, and receiver side also you can, before coming into photo detector, you can have also 4 different ring, identical ring also in the transmitter, and those rings will be useful for demultiplexing the channels. So demultiplexing channel means, okay, I should also mention that 4 different ring that will be used as a 4 different modulator, but in that case you can use also different laser, tunable laser source you can use, or maybe WDM laser source you can include, and you can also use 4 different channels, 4 different lambda, and all the data you are actually encoding into 4 channels and multiplexed, and you can also transmit to the receiver. So receiver also you can have a demodulator, 4 different channels, 4 different rings, and then demultiplex, and then photo detector, and then you can get your electrical data. So looks like I think in this case I'm not sure if you can I forgot, probably I think it is not probably the 4 ring it is used in this paper, in this particular demonstration. Most probably they have used only 1 ring as a transmitter, but later on that has been actually scaled up to 4, I think. If you just download this paper, you read, you can find better. So the main take home message is that this is a chip, and in this chip you have electronics and transmitter and receiver, both are integrated. So together it is actually used as a transceiver, and they are communicated to another RISC-V processor electronics, and that there also receiver transmitter is there. So in between you have laser off chip and fiber. So this chip where actually co-integrated photonics and electronics, and you can communicate them. And I must mention that this was the effort to demonstrate electronics and photonics not on SOI, silicon on insulator. I was talking that silicon on insulator was used, good for fabricating waveguide, low loss things, low loss waveguide as well as electronics, so that co-integration possible. But cost point of view, silicon on insulator wafer, it's very expensive. Suppose a silicon wafer, normal bulk silicon wafer, if you buy in some $25, maybe 4-inch wafer you can buy $25. If it is a 6-inch, 8-inch or 12-inch wafers, if you are getting that, maybe hardly $100 or so for one wafer you can get. But for silicon and insulator, it is more than $500. So cost is more than 5 times. So that's why expensive. So this is the first demonstration people tried to fabricate transceiver where actually electronics and photonics were co-integrated, but in bulk silicon. And in this case, bulk silicon, one major problem is that waveguide, the bulk silicon means the waveguide is almost in the similar fashion it was fabricated, whatever demonstrated by Sorep for the first time in 1985. So that thing they modified using CMOS technology, of course, bulk silicon CMOS technology they have used, all the process lines, and they demonstrated first time. And in this, they actually they were successful to integrate together 70 million transistor. For this transceiver, they need driver circuit, all this RISC processor, memory, including all those type of things. If you count, they have used 70 million transistor, 850 photonic devices on chip. So photonic devices not going to million, even not even 1,000 also. But in spite of that, it is advantageous because it is a optical frequency and you can multiplex, and higher data rate you can encode. That is how it is there. So 850 photonic devices you can consider like a large scale integration. So in case of electronics, large scale LSI, VLSI, all ULSI, all those type of things, you are talking about billions of transistors. That is how it is there. But in case of photonics, 850 is a very large scale integration. So if you are going more than 1,000, that you can get an ultra large scale integration for photonics. But that is actually good enough for the moment. Whatever the demand, that is more than enough if you have. So here they have demonstrated, as I said, the 850 photonic devices, dual core RISC-V processor, and 1 MB memory bank, and also along with that 2 times 11 electro-optic transceiver per processor. So that means this type of transceiver they have used 2 times means both whatever receiver and transmitter. So 11 electro-optic, all are operated by electro-optic process. So that is how they claimed. And another thing, if you just go to the website, I suggest that you go to the website, search this paper, and you will find also that some of the supplementary things are there. Some video also there in this paper. You can just download and watch that one. What they did using this circuitry, and they also transmitted some video, directly video, some tea boiling on the pot, and they are just capturing the video, and that video transmitted from one place to another place. That is, they have shown. That's just for fun that silicon photonics worked for the first time in real life. Yes. So other than transceiver, okay. So one important application is silicon photonics coming out lately. I think last 10 years, people when they saw that, okay, it is a huge success for transceiver technology, and Intel and Luxtera, some companies, they are making profit. Then people thought that silicon photonics technology can be used some other area as well. One example here, it is microwave photonics. So microwave photonics is, microwave, for example, this radar application, microwave communication, you have antenna, and then that RF, there you need a lot of microwave circuitry, microwave waveguide, and microwave signal processing. That it's a little bit of bulky stuffs you need, and all the electrical signal you receive from the antenna. So you have to process electronically with a lot of mixed signal processing, analog, digital, all those type of things, and then you can recover, and you can decode, and you can process your data. So that's a huge electronic budget, and also a lot of bandwidth limitations are there. So that is why people thought that silicon photonics modulator and also some other optical processor you can actually fabricate using silicon photonics technology, which is actually can be fabricated in CMOS industry. And you can reduce the budget for electronics. So whatever budget cost required for electronics, for signal processing, data processing, etc., that can be reduced, and cost can be actually their estimation says that it is possible to reduce it dramatically. So the principle is that you have your RF signal, and then you have a laser source. You just simple laser diode you can use, and you have a Mach Zehnder modulator you use. The modulator is used for encoding your all this RF data into your optical signal. Same process, and you feed into another chip. This is actually optical signal processor they are calling. That optical signal processor and modulator, it is shown, modulator laser, it is shown outside off chip. And this is your optical processor. What is that? Because whenever your RF signal lower frequency, you are encoding into higher optical frequencies. So that is now optical signal, and you can process optically. How you can process optically? Mainly, you can filter. It is easy to demonstrate a lot of high quality filter, high extinction filter using optical circuitry, resonance circuitry, and different type of filter design you can do. You can do some kind of delay lines, and you can also process with some kind of phase modulation, phase decoding, everything you can do. You can process optically here. So once you process optically, you can actually reduce, actually throw out a lot of noise. Particularly the electronics budget goes mainly just to reduce the noise level. So discard the unwanted signal, filtering the actual band from your RF because whatever signal received by antenna, that's everything. But you need your interest for a particular specific band. That particular band you can process, you can filter, process it optically, and you can actually send it to your receiver. So that type of microwave photonics chip, and a lot of applications are there, not only for this kind of noise filtering, also latest application is that a lot of beam steering, beam forming. For example, if you want to use that in a radar system means you have to just steer the beam to find your target, and you need to know how far it is the distance target. It's a radar application basically. For that purpose, you need to steer the beam. So whenever you are steering your beam in microwave domain, it is bulky and cost expensive. But if you process partly using your optical chip, that is, cost will be reduced, because this chip can be fabricated in photonics foundry and bulk mass production can be possible. So that this type of thing, it was actually shown, it is a review paper, but this is shown that modulator and laser off chip. Now people are also demonstrated this modulator and laser also on chip. So this laser actually on chip means 3-5 semiconductor laser, just flip chip bonded, and they process it directly on chip. That type of things are important area also. So this is what I mean to say, that other than your silicon photonics transceiver, this microwave photonics chip also being fabricated using silicon photonics technology, CMOS based, CMOS compatible silicon photonics technology. And then another thing is that, so, you know, this is one thing is that once you just decide that your design can be fabricated in CMOS foundry, the cost is very, very low, because you can scale it up. You can process the small circuit. The circuit can take a very small space, but your processing you are doing for full wafer. Nowadays in electronics industry, you know, people are working with a 12-inch wafer, 18-inch wafer, 18-inch diameter wafer. So in one go, you are fabricating all the 275 process steps you are doing for whole wafer. So that means so thousands of dies you are fabricating, chips you are actually fabricating at one go. That's why cost is low. So if you can normally, you know, in long haul fiber optic communication, even short haul fiber optic communication like data centers, you need a router, switch fabric you need, because you need to just a direct signal from one rack to another rack, maybe very fast. You don't need to, you cannot do that mechanically. It's a old primitive mode. You just disconnect your fiber and then connect here, and then you can do that. Okay, switching one rack to another rack you can do. But that is what you don't want. You have to do everything in a controlled manner and a little bit faster. So for that, you can make switch fabric on silicon also. That is nothing but kind of waveguide structures. Waveguide structure and this Mach Zehnder we have shown earlier, that is used for modulator purpose. Same Mach Zehnder or kind of coupler you can use, and you can control by means of, I mentioned earlier, the thermo-optic effect, acoustic-optic effect, electro-optic effect. These are the three methods you can actually use for fabricating active devices. So you can make some kind of active devices. For example, here you get that, okay, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 input and 4 output ports, and there are so many crossings are there. And it is not shown exactly everything inside, but it is just shown that how your all the input I1, I2, I3, and you can go up to IN, nth number. Then this side you can get output 1, output 2, output 3, output n, up to output n. All those type of, it is shown. Only 3 and n is shown. It can be any number. It can be 10, 20, 100. It can be shown. People already demonstrated 128 input and 128 output ports. Okay, and then you can actually switch from one port to another port, and you can program it which port you want. That type of switch matrix also demonstrated using silicon photonics.
So, sir, this is similar to a programmable array logic, like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So that is how later on people are thinking that I think a little bit advanced topic nowadays coming forward, that is called FPGA, like electronics domain, field programmable gate array. So here also in photonics domain, we are just trying to realize that field programmable photonic gate array. Okay, FPGA. So similar. So that means functioning is completely different. Normally FPGA is for in digital domain. You just try to achieve all the gate operations, but here it can be analog. It is basically analog, but this type of programming, this different type of element you can program electronically. You can program that I want to activate this particular component. You can program and that one will be activated. Some power it will be powered, and then it will be switching. Only particular switch will be activated. Other switch will remain inactive. But if you want at a time, suppose you have a 128 input port and 128 output port, then that means you will have in between 128 by 128 different type of switch component device. So all these component device you should be able to program, control independently. Okay, at a time you may need maybe hundreds of them to be activated. All other may not need to be activated. So which 100 you are activating, that has to be programmed. So that is how programmable photonics it is very recently people are thinking about. Okay, so that is a switch matrix, and this one is also very important nowadays. You know that a lot of craze is there for quantum technology. Yeah, so our Indian government also allocated 8,000 crore rupees for quantum technologies, quantum computer, quantum communications, all those type of things are there. So now, so far, also you know that quantum computers are already available. That is demonstrated by IBM, Google, but all those based on superconducting qubit. But there is also another line of research going on that this quantum technology can be demonstrated using silicon photonics in the on chip. You can do. So thing is that whenever you are currently whatever quantum computer, quantum technology available, those are very bulky. Though the performance power, it is powerful, but the system is like a building size system. Okay, if you just see in the Google, IBM quantum computers, all those type of things, you can understand all those type of things. But people are trying that if this quantum technology can be implemented on chip, then it can be scalable, and you can fabricate in CMOS foundry. And indeed, there are a lot of concept and a lot of functions already demonstrated very recently with an idea that all the photonics and programmable circuit as well as electronics you can fabricate monolithically on silicon substrate, silicon on insulator substrate. For example, this type of circuitry needed. And these are the waveguide, you know, this is a spiral waveguide, ring resonator, and these are also ring resonator. All these are for different functions. So you see the I here, it is actually, I means it is some kind of power splitter, 1:2 power splitter. So input coming and then 2 power splitter is there. Then another power splitter is here. It is going there, and here you have a ring resonator. On the top, if you see, there is a gold color things, no? That is some kind of phase shifter. That's nothing but a micro heater. You just pass current, then temperature will be changed, then this ring will go off resonant. So similarly, you have a coupled rings. So called in integrated optics, they are named like a coupled ring optical waveguide, CRO structure. This CRO structure, they are actually used for wavelength filtering purpose, high extinction wavelength filtering purpose. And there are also some kind of you see periodic perturbation is there in the waveguide. So they are called I mentioned earlier, you remember that distributed Bragg reflector. So this type of structure is called is also used for filtering applications. Also you can integrate a phase shifter micro heater just to tune your response, wavelength response, which particular wavelength you are filtering, you can tune a bit, reconfigure a bit. And if you see this one, this is nothing but a Mach Zehnder called unbalanced Mach Zehnder interferometer. You have input and one arm is there, another arm, and they are combining with a power splitter here, and both the arms are not identical. They are called actually asymmetric or unbalanced Mach Zehnder interferometer. And here, this is also a Mach Zehnder interferometer. You see, this is actually a balanced Mach Zehnder interferometer. So all this circuitry, they are actually designed to work kind of like a switching circuit. But all this switching circuit, they design to get some kind of functionality that called actually linear, so-called linear LCAO, linear LOCA, linear optical quantum computing circuit. Yeah, something I think linear optical quantum computing circuit, LOQC, something is there. So meaning this type of circuit you design, that is called to get some function called some kind of unitary operation. Okay, unitary transfer response you can get, and you can achieve all type of functions. Now, normally we know, if it is, it will discuss maybe a little later details when you know a little bit about some kind of entanglement and single photons. All single photons will be generated and they will be passed through all this circuitry, and you get all quantum operations. And one important thing is that this part is allocated for your electronics control. One part there will be electronics driver, electronics can be integrated, and all this, for example, some of these phase shifters, and here it is connected. Now they will be useful for through vias will be connected, so that they will be driving all this phase shifter, this electronics circuit. And also here, if you see, if necessary, you can integrate a photo detector on chip, or you can have a grating coupler and you can use a optical fiber to take output for taking the things towards the another destination, or connecting to another chip. You can do that. So this type of thing also coming up very fast, and yeah, also some company also started promising that within a year or so they want to have some kind of silicon photonics quantum computer as well. So this is a hot topic is going on now, research. And then another thing is that this biomedical application, so-called lab on chip applications. So there also you need a light source and this type of waveguide structure, power splitter, and also you can integrate some kind of functionalization layer, where functionalization layer is useful for if you want to detect certain gas molecules, certain biomolecules, that molecules will be getting attached here, and because of the attachment, the optical property will be modified, and then modified optical property will be detected by photodetectors, and then you can just say that what type of molecule is that that's a biomolecule, or maybe gas, or maybe hazardous gas, or whatever you can use as a sensing application, sensor, lab on chip biomedical application it is called. So all these, if you see this circuit and this one and this one, if you see, they are basically waveguide. So optical waveguide. Okay, optical waveguide, but you are actually designing in different configuration to get a certain application. For example, you want to get here some kind of quantum gate operation here. So quantum operation also you are getting like same type of classical power splitter, classical Mach Zehnder interferometer, everything you can use for quantum photonic application as well. And another thing is that everything you are designing, the fundamental building block is the waveguide. So you need to understand first how you can design this waveguide on silicon chip, how you can design the grating coupler, how you can design a Mach Zehnder interferometer with desired specification. For example, if you want to use a unbalanced Mach Zehnder interferometer, how much unbalance you require for certain applications. So this type of thing you need to know. All this thing will be just discussing first part of this course. And major part is that this waveguide theory, in which you will learn the properties of the guided mode. For example, any any particular laser signal you are launching, what would be its phase velocity, what would be its dispersion, and what would be its polarization, and what would be its mode profile. Because all those, if you learn, then only you can also will be able to design, for example, this type of power splitter. You have 2 input ports and 2 output ports. Okay, basically here this type of power splitter is used for 3 dB power splitting. So any one input, if you are giving some 1 milliwatt in the output, you may get 0.5 milliwatt, 0.5 milliwatt. But sometimes you may need, for example, for example, this one, ring resonator and this waveguide. Okay, so that means if some light is coming here, it's supposed to go through, but because of the presence of the ring, some light will be evanescently coupled. Some, evanescent means any waveguide, when light is propagating as a mode, we have just qualitatively shown that the because of the core total internal reflection, light will be confined like a quantum well, and it will be propagating in which direction? The other direction. 2 dimension it will be confined, and 3rd dimension it can propagate. But even if you know a little bit about quantum well, if it is a finite potential height of a quantum well, then if you are solving the wave function, there will be some kind of tunneling effect is there. Within the barrier, the wave function also a little bit tunneled. Here also, in an optical waveguide, when guided mode is propagating, the mode shape not only confined within the core region, little bit also it extends, stretches towards the cladding region. And how far it is stretching, how much it is actually coming out, that whenever it is outside the cladding region, and it will be like a decaying nature, exponentially decaying. And inside it will be some kind of particular shape, actually particular shape you will be getting. It can be Gaussian, it can be sinusoidal, whatever the profile you will get. But depending on this evanescent tail, you will be able to see design this gap between ring and this waveguide, such that how much amount of light you want to couple into the ring, that you can actually design. So you can control the gap. So you need to know the waveguide property. What is that evanescent field? How much it is actually decaying? Mode field distribution is there? How close you can bring another waveguide? And depending on this gap, how much it will be coupled? So those type of things you need to learn. You need to design. So in this course, we will be just going through all those things also. So waveguide properties and this coupling, how much coupler design, and also Mach Zehnder interferometer design. For example, this is a crow structure, coupled ring optical waveguide. You see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rings were used, but you can use also 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever you can. More you use, you can get a better. You can just modify characteristics. Okay, so you need to know. Suppose I use 1, how much I will be getting filter. If I use 2, then what would be the output? 3. Suppose I need this much specification, this much extinction, this much bandwidth filter, then how many rings we need to couple to get such a certain function. So this type of circuitry also we will be learning in this course. Okay, so all these things, first we will be discussing how we can get a passive devices. For example, passive devices means passive DVR, ring resonator, Mach Zehnder, unbalanced, balanced, coupler, all those type of things we'll be learning first. And to learn that, there are 2 methods are there. One is actually, it is all optical, right? Electromagnetic theory. Light is electromagnetic theory. So everything actually is governed by Maxwell's equation. Okay, so ultimately you have to solve Maxwell's equation for a particular structure. Okay, so that how would be the response, input to output response, that you have to solve Maxwell's equation, original Maxwell's equation. So Maxwell's equation, there are 4 equations, right? You have learned in electromagnetic theory. I suggest you just to appreciate and to learn to have a good start for this course. You just go back and look at those Maxwell's equation, not only the just remembering the equation, but also try to learn about their origin. Okay, so a little bit recap. I suggest you all just go and learn that Maxwell's 4 equation, divergence D equal to say 0 for if no space charge is there, and then Carl equations. Those equation you just try to learn. Learn means you just check again. You have I'm sure that you have learned, but just go and recap it. And also from that Maxwell's equation, you see, you try to also any electromagnetic field books, if you read first 1 or 2 chapters, they will be discussing about all this vector algebra, then electrostatics, and then they will be discussing about how from Maxwell's equation the wave equation is formed, and from that wave equation how the plane wave solution comes. So those basic things I want you that you just learn again. Maybe you just go through, maybe it will some of you may not need more time, maybe 1 hour is sufficient. And if you have if you maybe not so good in electromagnetics and still you are taking in this course, then I suggest that you at least 1 day 2 day you spend to get some recap on that. Otherwise it would be very difficult for this course. Okay, because we will be developing a coupled mode theory, that is the heart of this integrated optics course, but those are actually originated from Maxwell's equation. And if you don't know the origin of the Maxwell's equation and their how to handle them, all this Carl's equation, divergence equation, etc., then it would appear to be very difficult for you. Okay, so that is the warning for you all, that if you feel that you are weak in electromagnetics, and electromagnetics is a huge area, you know, but here we need a very basic things, Maxwell's equation, and from Maxwell's equation you should know how to get this plane wave equations and solutions, and you need to know a little bit about how the electromagnetic wave behave at the interface. So those things, if I start teaching starting from Maxwell's equation, all those things, it will take very long time. So I will not go into details, but whatever necessary I will just try to cover in this course. But don't expect that I will be teaching all those, then I will be entering into integrated optics. I'll start from just plane wave equation. Okay, and then I will be trying to build how the integrated optics component is designed, and normally their functions, everything I will be explaining. And here we have basically our students, we have very good clean room here and nanofabrication facilities there. And using this fabrication facility, and our research scholars, I think during last 10-12 years, they developed all the technology and designed the device. And some of the device I wanted to show you, that is actually we can fabricate here in IIT Madras, and those are actually the results are actually very much international standard. Whatever best laboratory in the world you can fabricate and characterize, we can do here in IIT Madras. And here, for example, you see this is a two waveguide structure side by side. They are actually coupled waveguide. If you launch waveguide light in one of the waveguide, then you can actually couple light into the second waveguide through evanescent coupling. And how much it will be coupled and how much length required. For example, I want a 3 dB power splitting. For example, if I launch here 1 milliwatt, I want a certain length so that only 50% of light will go to the second waveguide, and then 50% will remain in the first waveguide. And if I know the exact length required, then I can actually design my device. Okay, this much length you keep for this coupled waveguide, and then after that you slowly adiabatically you can just separate them. So you can design your 3 dB power splitter, right? So using that 3 dB power splitter, you see that if you are launching light here, if it is 3 dB power splitter, 50% goes here and 50% goes here, and another 3 dB power splitter, then you can get output here. So this is what is called actually 2x2 Mach Zehnder interferometer. This 2x2 Mach Zehnder interferometer, you know, that has been used earlier. We have shown that people use for demonstrating Mach Zehnder modulator. And ring resonator you have seen also earlier, that people are using for the designing transceiver. So that type of ring resonator. This ring resonator, I think it is, you see, this is the scale of, it is 2 micron, I guess. Yeah. So this is about 10 micron diameter ring resonator radius, I think 10 micron radius. And here, this same type of Mach Zehnder interferometer we have fabricated in our lab, and that is used for Mach Zehnder switch. So you see, one of the arm you are integrating a micro heater. So you are launching a light, and then you see 50% goes this side and 50% goes this side. And through micro heater, if you just control the phase, then actually you can switch light from cross port to bar port. So this type of device also fabricated in our lab, and this is in working condition. You can, if you once, I think college opens, then you can see also in our lab how it is working. Okay, and some of the characterization setup is here. Okay, and yeah, some of the electrical characteristics, ring resonator, all those type of thing, it is shown here. Okay, and also as I said that this we have also, because we are working so many years in silicon photonics, now we have entered into a new type of research activities for developing programmable photonic integrated circuits and systems. And I think we got a very good fund to study all these programmable circuits. And as part of that thing, if we get chance, we will be discussing in this course also. So this is all about, I wanted to give you some kind of overview why this course is very important, and why it is interesting for you, and you should learn, you should concentrate. So that is the idea. And but thing is that all this just pictorial, all this hand waving explanation I have given, but to appreciate, to learn, and to really enter into this subject, you have to start from the basics. Yeah. So as I said, so I will be starting from the basics, but apart from this Maxwell's equation, whatever I said, that part, it is your responsibility to update yourself, that basic things. After that, I will be discussing. And for the things I will be teaching, mostly I'll be teaching from initially I'll be teaching from one book called GT Reed, that is Introduction to Silicon Photonics, kind of waveguide theory you will be getting from there. How the confinement, how to solve Maxwell's equation for the waveguide, those things I'll be discussing from GT Reed. I think that reference already given in the website, you can check. Otherwise, our TA will give you that. E-copy is also available. They can actually upload in the, I think not, if not in the Moodle, maybe in the through things. Otherwise, you can buy also those books available in the market. And then after waveguide theory understanding, then I will be discussing coupled mode theory. And this coupled mode theory, it will take at least 10-12 lectures I need to spare. I think that coupled mode theory entirely I will be following from Yarif's book. That book other day someone circulated in the WhatsApp. That book is very good, that coupled mode theory, because that coupled mode theory actually it helps to somewhat model different type of device. Instead of directly solving every device starting from Maxwell's equation, if you use coupled mode theory, you can model. It's kind of, it helps to model your individual components. You can find a analytical, somewhat an analytical model. So that through that analytical model, for example, I was talking about directional coupler. Suppose I need 90 standard analytical equation I have to derive, so that suppose I want to design a 3 dB power splitter. What is the length required for certain waveguide configuration? Then I can directly use that analytical formula, and then you can find, okay, this is the length required for 50 dB or 3 dB power splitting. Otherwise, if you don't have that analytical model, then if you want to know how much length is required to have a 3 dB power splitting, each time you have to start with a Maxwell's equation and you put a certain length and see what is the output and estimate that and observe that, calculate, and then okay, you are getting maybe some values. Then again you have to say another length and try, okay, it is increasing or decreasing. Okay, it is increasing, then fine, you then decrease the length. So that trial and error method, each time you have to go back and forth to find out the length, what is the length design required. So that's why this couple more theory is very important. That will be helpful for modeling things. And the thing is that this integrated optics, each time we are talking about that integrated optics, it is almost analogous to your integrated electronics or something like that. But the basic fundamental difference is that any electronic circuit, you have basically transistors, identical transistors, right? You are just for example, you want to get a integrated circuit, so different type of transistor you are connecting differently. So particular set of transistor you need, maybe some kind of passive element like inductor, resistor needed. Normally inductor less frequently used. Capacitor, MOSFET, everything you need. You know that particular few devices, transistors, only transistor mainly transistors are used in IC. But in this case, it is not. You don't have any single particular device that you are actually cascading to get a different application. For example, here see, it is a spiral waveguide. It has a particular function. Ring resonator has a particular function. Mach Zehnder unbalanced is a different. And for different function, you need different type of geometry. But in spite of that, we'll try to find out what is the fundamental building block you can have. And that fundamental building block can be just treated as a something like a transistor, and you can model that like a compact model of electronic device used for circuit simulations, all those type of things. Here also we'll be trying to find certain kind of compact model so that you can use for circuit simulation. For example, if you have all the compact model is there, all components, then you use those compact models. That's an analytical formula type things. Just using those compact model, you can find out what would be the global solution for the entire circuit. Okay, so that type of thing also being developed for integrated optics, and we should also learn a bit on towards that direction. Okay, so that is the first part of the course, and the second part I'll be just discussing about optoelectrons like lasers and photodetectors. So that maybe will take maybe 20 to 30% of lectures. 70% will be waveguide theory, couple more theory, and different type of device and their modeling and their functions, response, and how they can be converted into reconfigurable circuits. Those type of things we'll be discussing. And normally we evaluate this course by conducting 2 quizzes, quiz 1 and quiz 2. I think maybe after I think 5 weeks we conduct quiz 1, and then after another 5 weeks we conduct quiz 2, and then we have final exams. And I think the marks distribution, you know, all those type of things we have already in the website. But one important aspects of this course is that we normally give a mini project. Okay, so individually will be given a mini project, some kind of device. We will be asking you to design certain functions. So you use some kind of device, you design a device architecture. Suppose I need, for example, okay, design a filter which will give you very narrow bandwidth passband, say 1 nanometer passband, and extinction ratio should be more than 60 dB. So that type of specification I will be giving. You have to design that. How will you design? There are 2 methods are there. One is analytical approach, whatever I will be discussing through couple more theory. And another method is that there are simulator. Normally all integrated photonics device circuits, everything simulated, and it's kind of monopoly one simulator that is called numerical tools. And that normally we use also for designing different type of circuits. And that software license, normally we have some kind of memorandum of understanding with that company, so they give some license to our students when we are teaching this course. Suppose you are 15 students, they will be giving 15 license, and we will be giving that 15 license to all of you, and you will be using that. We have to see how remotely now this online fashion can be useful. We'll be just talking to them, and you can access, maybe it will be installed in a server, and you can remotely log in into that server, and you can simulate, you can actually design different components, and whatever the mini project will be given, you have to work on that. You can do little bit of analytical method, or not little bit. If you can't do an analytical method, you can do. Otherwise, if you need some kind of simulation, numerical simulations, those numerical simulation, that those are basically based on Maxwell solver. Okay, you have to use that, and each of you, each projects, mini projects will be supervised by our senior student. So that means probably if you are 5, maybe if it is more number, 15 students, then maybe we will be dividing into 6-7 groups, and in a group we will be giving mini project, and each of them will be mentored by our senior PhD students. So you have to work with them, and they will be helping you to design, and they will be giving task, and that evaluation will be about 20 marks for that mini project. Okay, and rest of the 80% mark, I think we will be conducting like quiz 1, quiz 2, and same, and yeah, maybe some assignment if we give, those type of things. So this is all about the course, and okay, all this till today we are just discussing introduction. And if you have any questions on this course, anything else, just you can ask, we can answer now. And from Monday onwards, we will be just entering into basics. We start from the basics and start learning the waveguide theory, etc. Yeah, couple more theory and so on. Any question? I think late evening, I think flat tire. Any questions you have or no?
No, sir.
It's all right, yeah. I see only 9 students. Out of them, 3. Many of you are not there. Who is there? Anil, Abhinav. Can you just, I want to see your face, who are all. I think, okay, I know Diptasri. And yeah, this is Abhinav Kumar. Okay. Abhinav Kumar, I think during interview. Anil also, yeah. Ayush. And then Ankita. Are you there?
Sir.
Can you switch on your camera? Possible or not? And Ankita?
No.
So, okay. Just wanted to see your face, whom I am teaching, who is taking course, I wanted to see. And okay, fine. And then who is that? Jasbant, yeah?
Sir, problem with my camera, sir, it's not working.
So you are in computer or your mobile?
PC, sir, laptop.
Okay. So, but this everything visible, no? All the slides, it is coming all right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, fine. So any question, no question, then I can stop now.